July 7, 1944, 6:12, a hedge-lined field outside Saint-Lô, Normandy. The morning air is thick with mist and cordite. Dew clings to wheat stalks crushed flat by boots and half-tracks. Somewhere beyond the hedgerows, a cowbell rings once, then stops. German artillerymen crouch beside a camouflaged 10.5 cm Leff H-18 howitzer, helmets tilted back, cigarettes glowing faintly in the grey light. Lieutenant Karl-Heinz Müller lowers his binoculars and snorts. "Americans," he mutters, "always the same." A few men chuckle. One taps ash from his cigarette onto the damp soil. They've heard the stories, loud Americans, too much radio chatter, sloppy fire missions. Compared to the drilled precision of German gunnery schools, the US artillery is supposed to be crude. Fast food soldiers with fast but inaccurate guns. The laughter is easy, comfortable, then the radio crackles. A sharp voice cuts through the static, panicked, clipped. An infantry runner has stumbled into their position, breathless, eyes wide. Suddenly he gasps, "Enemy movement. They're forming up near the orchard. We were spotted." Müller waves him off. "Americans need time," he says. "They'll argue, they'll adjust. We'll relocate before." But then, the first shell lands 30 meters short. Dirt erupts into the air, showering the gun crew. The laughter stops. A second shell follows closer. A third slams into the hedgerow to their left, shredding branches, snapping wood like matchsticks. This isn't ranging fire, this is correction. Müller's smile fades. He raises his binoculars again, scanning the fields. No spotting aircraft, no balloons, just hedgerows and mist. Then it hits him. "They're using observers," he says quietly. "Forward." The fourth shell lands directly behind the gun pit. You can almost feel it, the ground flexing under your boots, the air punched from your lungs. Men shout. Someone drops a shell casing with a metallic clang. The radio operator is screaming into the handset now, begging for counter-battery support. It doesn't matter, because the fifth shell doesn't come from the same direction, nor the sixth. Within 2 minutes, the field is boxed in by converging fire. Shells from multiple batteries arrive in a deadly rhythm, walking inward. The pattern is deliberate, calculated. American artillery isn't firing one gun, it's firing all of them. Müller realizes it at the same moment the earth begins to collapse around the position. This isn't the slow, methodical duel German gunners trained for. There is no time to displace, no time to adjust fire tables. The Americans have skipped steps, gone straight from detection to destruction. As the crew scrambles, Müller's mind races backward to training lectures, to smug comparisons made months earlier. Americans rely on mass, an instructor had said, not finesse, but this is finesse through mass. Across the hedgerows, unseen and untouched, a single US forward observer lies prone in the grass. His name is Lieutenant James Parker, 29 years old, Ohio. He has a radio handset pressed to his helmet, his eyes fixed on a patch of disturbed earth where German guns just revealed themselves. He speaks calmly. "Fire mission. Grid confirmed. Battery adjust. Over." Miles away, American guns pivot as one. Crews don't argue, they don't calculate by hand. They don't wait for orders to trickle down chains of command. They trust the system. Within seconds, corrections are fed back. Within seconds after that, steel rains down again. Back in the field, Müller dives for cover as the hedgerow simply disappears. Not burns, not breaks. Erased. The realization hits him harder than the concussions. The Americans aren't guessing. They are networked. Each shell lands closer than the last, not because of luck, but because somewhere, someone with a clear view is guiding every round onto target. And if Müller survives this, if he crawls out of this killing zone, he knows what he'll tell anyone who will listen. The Americans have turned artillery into a machine, and once it locks onto you, it doesn't let go. The bombardment intensifies, the earth shakes. Müller presses his face into the dirt as the sound becomes unbearable, a rolling thunder that swallows thought itself. And just before everything goes white, one terrifying idea cuts through the noise. If this is what American artillery can do now, what happens when they see everything? 7:15, same morning. Smoke curls in thin ribbons from shattered hedgerows. The German gun crew lies scattered, mud on their helmets, sweat in their eyes. The first shock has worn off, replaced by cold calculation. They need to survive. Müller crawls forward, peering over the wrecked trench. The earth is cratered, every shell leaving a crater perfectly spaced, almost surgical. The men begin counting. Every impact, every fragment, every shattering tree mapped in their minds. This isn't random, it's deliberate. It's a machine of destruction. Lieutenant Parker, calm as dawn itself, watches through his binoculars. He spots a second German battery trying to reposition behind the next ridge. He radios it in. Within seconds, artillery from 3 different directions pivots, converging with terrifying accuracy. Müller hears the roar before the crash. His stomach drops. The first shell obliterates a nearby tree, sending splinters across the field. He realizes the Americans don't just hit their targets, they anticipate their movement. Every attempt to escape or relocate is already accounted for. The crew begins to panic. Orders are shouted, shells are rammed, but Mueller knows it's futile. The Americans have mastered something his training never prepared him for: centralized fire control coupled with forward observation. The German system relies on slow calculation, preset tables, and meticulous procedure. The Americans bypass all of that with speed, coordination, and ruthless efficiency. Every shell counts, one of his gunners whispers, voice trembling. They know where we are before we even move. And it's true. As Mueller watches, another round lands exactly where a soldier had been moments before. It's impossible, too fast, too precise. A junior gunner finally cries out, "It's not luck, they're working together." Mueller swallows hard. For weeks they had mocked the Americans for being sloppy, for fast but inaccurate fire. The illusion is shattered. German artillery training had drilled them to scoff at anything less rigid, anything less mechanical. And yet here they are caught, outgunned, outmaneuvered by invisible hands controlling hundreds of guns at once. Every German soldier knows the moment is critical. If they survive, this knowledge could save lives. If not, they vanish into craters shredded by shells that feel guided by some merciless intelligence. Then, just as the men begin to regroup, the next realization hits. This wasn't a one-time bombardment, it's a continuous, adaptive system. Every movement they make feeds the observer's calculations. Every hiding spot, every retreat, every attempt to dig in is countered. Mueller glances at his watch. 5 minutes have passed. 5 minutes of artillery that could have taken them out completely, but the Americans have stopped. For now, he dares to look up. The hedgerows are a ruin, men are shaking. The forest smells like gunpowder and fear. And in that moment, Mueller makes a decision. They must move, and fast, because waiting is death. But even as they scramble, a quiet, almost clinical thought creeps in. If this is how one observer and a handful of batteries can operate, what happens when an entire division is coordinating fire like this? The Germans were about to find out. Over the next few weeks at St. Lo, Cayentan, and beyond, the Americans would push with unrelenting precision, crushing defensive positions faster than anyone expected. And Mueller knows one thing with absolute clarity: the era of random artillery duels where luck and skill balance the battlefield is over. The Americans have invented a new kind of war, one measured not in bravery but in timing, coordination, and ruthless precision. The hedgerow is silent now, save for distant shelling, but the fear has already settled deep in Mueller's chest. They had mocked the Americans, and now they understand the terrifying truth: the shell never misses. The mist has begun to lift, revealing the battered fields like a scar across the earth. The German gun crews regroup, faces pale, hands trembling. Some clutch their rifles, others stare blankly at the craters that were once hedgerows. Mueller looks around, calculating what survived, what didn't, and realizes how quickly everything can be lost. The radio crackles again. Another American forward observer reports new German positions spotted. Within minutes, the deadly rhythm resumes elsewhere. Mueller's stomach tightens. This is no isolated incident. It's happening across the front. Every time a German unit thinks it's safe, another shell lands with terrifying precision. Mueller remembers training lectures, proud boasts about German artillery superiority. They had studied maps, calculated angles, measured ranges, but none of that prepared them for a force guided by eyes on the target and lightning-fast communication. The Americans didn't need luck, they had systematic coordination. He crouches, wiping sweat from his brow. Around him, men whisper the same thought: everywhere we go, they know. The realization sinks deeper. Forward observers, radios, central fire control. This wasn't just an experiment. This was the future of artillery warfare. And for the first time, Mueller sees clearly. The German army is not only outgunned in firepower, but outmatched in speed, intelligence, and adaptability. Hours later, after scrambling to reposition, Mueller watches the Americans push forward, destroying defensive positions with near-perfect accuracy. German units crumble. Entire battalions retreat, their morale shattered by the invisible network guiding every shell. The men understand that no hiding, no clever repositioning, no luck can escape it. And Mueller knows something else. This moment will be repeated again and again. From the fields of Normandy to the forests of Belgium, German artillery crews across the front will confront the same shocking truth: American fire is relentless, precise, and unstoppable. By evening, Mueller sits in a ruined trench, helmet beside him, staring at the smoldering earth. He whispers to no one in particular: "We mocked them, we should have feared them." The laughter of earlier days is gone, replaced by a silent, haunting respect. A lesson learned too late. In this war, precision and coordination can be deadlier than courage or numbers. The Americans had mastered it, and the battlefield had changed forever. Mueller leans against the shattered farmhouse, mud on his uniform, ears still ringing from the impacts. He watches the hedgerows, craters, smoke, scattered men, and realizes the Americans aren't guessing. Every shell is guided, every position tracked. The crew scrambles once more under the shadow of relentless fire, and somewhere in the fields, unseen, the Americans adjust again. One truth has settled in Muller's mind: the shell never misses, and the battlefield has changed forever.